Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to you all here at the CRS Touring Car Series. This is our Tier 1 Touring Car lobby. We're here for the final two rounds today at Mount Panorama in Australia. It's going to be a really exciting race, and as always, joining me in the commentary box this evening, we have Ed with us.
Evening, everyone. Looking like it's really hotting up on the mountain at the moment.
Yeah, definitely, Ed. So business as usual at the front. We have Calm Big Tam sitting there about a second ahead of the field at the moment. With about a minute left to practice. You're currently watching free practice, folks, and we're going to move on to our qualifying fairly soon. Just to kind of quickly run you through the championship, obviously a double win for Tam last weekend, and that puts him in a fairly commanding position in the championship. Tam currently sitting on 149 points, so obviously 15 points for a win here in CRS Touring Cars. So the maximum possible points is 33 points from a round. So Tam only really needs about 8 points, Ed, to clinch this championship.
I think he's putting on a fairly commanding display right now, but from watching his lap times and his fuel levels, he's purely out there on one lap pace. So whether he's just trying to just sort of spook everyone a little bit and show them what he's capable of on low fuel, because I know a lot of the other guys are running race fuel, which is obviously going to make these cars a bit harder over the mountain.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously a heavy car going to be a big factor through these tight corners. So the other challenger for the other two challengers for the championship on 124 and 123 respectively are Banslowski and Doherty James. So Banslowski, our early championship leader, has fallen back a little bit. Oh, as we see Tam just a big slap into the wall there. So I'm going to swap over to Sausage Miyagi. These cars looking a little bit ragged, Ed.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, Banslowski.
Really pushing it.
Yeah, Banslowski and Doherty James definitely with their work cut out this evening to close that gap to Calm Big Tam.
I think great display from James. He's really taking the fight with that BMW, which, as we all know, sort of is slower than the Megane on most tracks. So for him to be like really fighting for second is a real credit to him.
Yeah, definitely, and just we've been warned by the guy we're watching right now is to not say his name this week, to not commentators curse him. So we're gonna refer to we're gonna refer to Redshift 80 as he who shall not be named this evening. But the guy's now making their way out on track. Obviously, 15 minutes to put in a qualifying lap. So we're just following along with Bands right now. Talking to Bands last week, he said that this track really doesn't suit him. Do you think there's anything that he's kind of learned from last week that he's going to take into this weekend?
I think one of the main things he could bring into this week from last week is, although he doesn't like the track, anything can happen. Obviously, I know Tam commandingly won both races, but sort of everyone behind him, I don't think there was anyone else that didn't have issues or hit a wall, had a spin. So as long as he's there, he can capitalise on mistakes. And if there's one track on this calendar that there's probably going to be mistakes and you should capitalise on them, it's Bathurst, it's the mountain.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, incredibly tight over the top and through the S's. So it might all get a bit fruity on the first lap between these guys.
I mean, it's going to be interesting to see, hopefully, if someone can really take it to Tam in qualifying. And then, depending on how much pressure can be applied to him over the top of the mountain, it's one place that put the wheel out of place by an inch, just take a bit of grass or a bit too much, you're going to clout a wall. And that completely changes your race.
Yeah, and obviously the Mount Panorama circuit, a little bit longer than some of the other tracks that we've we visited this season, Ed. So clouting a wall, not advisable if you've got to limp that car back to the pits for some repairs.
No, not at all. Obviously, the bottom of the track is reasonably. You've got a bit of wiggle room there, but the moment you're sort of on the exit of turn 2, it's solid walls next to you. It's very sort of Monaco-esque, but with massive transitions in height. You really do, especially when you're going down the dipper. It's difficult to keep the back end of the car sort of underneath you whilst trying to slow it down.
Yeah, definitely. And we chatting to the guys earlier in the week. It was something that they were really struggling with. Was especially with the Megans, just struggling with a bit of rear end stability through the kind of tight downhill sections, and just kind of struggling to get the car turned. But obviously, in setting the car up is a bit of a trade-off, and you don't want to set the car up too lively, and then, like you say, clout a wall.
It's a difficult payoff to make, and it's something everyone has to do in a race. Like, you can take a car that's set up for purely 1 lap pace, but you'll struggle with it on 9 out of 10 laps until you get that 1 lap. Whereas setting one up for a race, you might not be as quick as your ultimate time, but it's safe, which is something you really need at this track.
I'm hesitant to say you need to drive at kind of 9/10, but I think that's kind of the point that you're kind of trying to make. Obviously, these guys are going as fast as they can at all times, but like you say, race pace is incredibly different to just kind of trying to put one fast hot lap in. As we see Jacob just making his way around onto the Conrod Straight. So we're going to see our first real time. Obviously, Redshift 80 sitting at 2:27. We don't think that's kind of indicative of his pace. So Jacob's going to be our first of our cars to set a time. So it's going to be interesting to see what sort of times the guys are running in.
I have to say, I think I did see Jacob tap a wall. Whether it did any damage, that's something else. But I believe he did make a small amount of contact.
Yeah, obviously a little bit of kind of kissing the walls at this circuit, I think, is kind of to be expected. It all depends on how hard you hit those walls and kind of whether you actually do any damage. Obviously, the suspension on these touring cars not the most robust, but it can stand a little bit of abuse. And so the first sort of lot of times are in now, and Sausage Miyagi straight in with a 2:14.5. I believe that's a strong time. That is a very strong time. I believe that's very close to our fastest time in practice so far. Redshift 80, he who shall not be named, is on a 2:14.7, so only less than 2/10 behind. So the first couple of cars, very, very close together, and then Bands, who like I said earlier, doesn't seem to enjoy this track too much. We see Bands just jumping into the pits.
I think Jacob took a bit of the barrier on the exit of turn 2, which is Quarry Bend, and might have held Bands up slightly there.
Yeah, as we see Big Tam just coming through Forest Elbow there and out onto the Conrad Straight. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of time Big Tam can set here on his first run. Obviously, Tam was running fairly solid 14s all the way through practice, so
very much setting himself up for this qualifying session. He really seemed to be focusing on that 1 lap pace.
Yeah, and obviously don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, there's a theoretical 3 extra points available for this weekend as well, and that's one for pole position, and then another 2 for the fastest laps in the race. So some extra little bonus points there to kind of play for as well. As we see Big Tam crossing the line, let's see what kind of time he can put in, and a 2:24 there for Big Tam. So I wonder if that was an outlap head. He does seem to be continuing round onto his next lap, so I think we might see. I
suspect so, or maybe just
fast lap.
Just a bit of traffic, or maybe just made a mistake and sort of decided to just take a slightly cooler lap.
So let's just jump back through and see as we see Sausage Miyagi now coming up, like heading up the mountain. And I think one thing to talk about, like you kind of kind of touched on it earlier, Ed, is the elevation change on this track is massive, and you almost have to set the car up with that in mind, to be kind of extra stable through some of these sections.
It's a difficult thing to do because you want a car that's really sort of kind on the way up, and then equally as kind on the way down, which is a really hard payoff between your brake bias as well as everything else. It's a real nightmare track to have set up.
Yeah, I wonder if any of the guys, obviously you can adjust brake bias from inside the car on these. I wonder if any of the guys are adjusting the brake bias as they're going round, Ed.
That would be if I know how much I struggle with just trying to set a pit strategy. So if they're changing brake bias, they're working a lot harder. And just on the earlier fact, there is 571 feet of vertical difference between the lowest part of this racetrack and the highest.
That's incredible. That's a great little fact there. So 500 feet right up to the top of the mountain, and obviously Mount Panorama, famous and a very kind of an infamous track almost in the V8 supercars, and of course the Bathurst 12 hours. So I think we were discussing earlier that 214 is a fairly close time to a V8 supercar around here, Ed.
Back, I believe, on the 2014 V8 supercars. So the V8 supercar we have in game in Project Cars 2, I believe, is about a 214, which it is achievable in game, to be honest. But these guys are clearly pushing, and the gap to the top, Miyagi is taking this to Tam.
As we see Big Tam just tapping the wall there and choosing to kind of pull time on that lap and make his way back to the pits. But yeah, definitely these guys incredibly fast. And just a little fact for anyone that happened to watch managed to watch the round from Brands Hatch. So the guys last week were running kind of two 128, 130s at the front of the field. Ed, have I told you what the British touring car record is around Brands Hatch GP?
No, you've not mentioned it.
1 minute 30.6.
Oh wow!
So these guys are on pace with British touring cars around that circuit. That to me is mind blowing.
That's amazing, but they can put that claim down. Especially, the famous thing with these is that the cars aren't real, but the racing is, and that's the main
the guys
thing.
Showing that they're showing some real pace here, and just to kind of make things nice and interesting, the top three all covered by about 3/10, so incredibly close at the front. And I wonder if between us we can jump on board with somebody that's just about to start a lap. Maybe we can follow Sausage Miyagi round, and we can just talk the.
I think Sausage is now at the end of a fast lap.
So let's try and find somebody who's on an outlap. That's
Sausage shaking pole.
Whoa!
Provisional
Sausage
pole.
Miyagi there with a 2:14.3 there from Sausage Miyagi. Let's see if the guys. So somebody we haven't talked about, CRS Dizzy in 4th place. So Dizzy currently battling for kind of 5th, 6th, 7th in the championship, and we've not seen a great deal of form from Dizzy this season, Ed. I'm kind of hoping that we'll see a little bit more from him and some of the other BMWs around this track as the tyre wear comes into play.
Obviously, Dizzy sort of leading the way for the BMWs at the moment. Obviously, last week it was firmly Doherty James who was that push for the BMWs, and obviously occupying 3rd place in the championship, only one behind Bands. I don't think James has got a clear lap at the moment.
No,
I don't think he's 11 seconds off the pace.
I think we're still waiting for a hot lap from Doherty James, and I think sort of remembering back to practice, he definitely was running at the top of the midfield at the very least, as we see him just kind of getting it a little bit sideways through the chase, and kind of coming up to Murray's corner and out onto potentially a fast lap there, as we see Redshift 80 there with a 6,000th of a second faster.
Wow, that's sausage is not going to be happy about that.
So there's less than a tenth of a second between the first three cars right now. So
just between the next two BMWs, between Dizzy and Bands, there's less than a tenth of a second there as well.
Yeah, so we're just going to ride on board with Dirty James as he makes his way up to Griffin's, and well, just between us, we're going to talk you through a lap of the Mount Panorama circuit. So there's Griffin's Bend, and we're still making our way uphill right now, and we're making our way up to the left
we're
hand,
making our way
which is the cutting.
Yeah, it's then into Griffin's.
And then it's Quarry Corner, I believe, is the right-hander that we're going through next. And guys, we're still climbing. We're still making our way up that 500 or so feet up to the top of the circuit. As I believe that's Frog Hollow there on the. And then now we get to we're almost at the top of the circuit now. I believe we're now starting to make our way back down the mountain, and that I believe is Skyline, and then we're into the S's, and then this is Dipper. And so now we make our way down on the run down to Forest Elbow, and I believe there's an interesting story about the naming of Forest Elbow, Ed.
Yeah, I think it was quite simply named after a motorcycle rider who fell off and scraped his elbow on that corner. So very apt naming.
Was that motorcycle rider's name potentially Forest, Ed?
It might have been, yeah.
And then so this left kind of like right left kick is called the Chase, and so this was put in a little while ago just to slow the cars down. So obviously we've just come down the Conrod Straight, and that Chase was actually put in a few years ago just to slow the cars down, Ed.
Yeah, because I think
Murray's there at the end.
I think for the V8 supercars, what was happening was very similar with sort of a lot of motor racing at the time, which was just the power creep and the cars just getting faster and faster, and very much like the removal of, putting the S's in the Mulsanne Straight was just to make the racing a bit safer at those high speeds.
Yeah, definitely, and like I said, just to slow the cars down and kind of. So, the first three cars, Ed, covered by a tenth of a second. So, and then what do we have? A second and a half back to Banslowski. So Banslowski, our second place runner in the championship, a second and a half off the pace at the moment. Let's see if he has a bit more.
We
race
still have
pace
James on track,
right now.
putting another lap in.
So we're just going to skip back to James. Thanks for drawing that to my attention there, Ed. I was in a little world of my own. And
interesting to see, because obviously Doherty, third in the championship, needs to sort of improve to being up there with Bands.
Yeah, definitely. He at least needs to be up with Bands, if not pushing the top three. In reality, both the guys that are in second and third place, they need some kind of connection issue for Big Tam, and obviously this being kind of sim racing, that's a factor, but we hope that kind of thing doesn't happen, and we just want to see some clean racing. But in reality, the Banslowski and Doherty James, they've got to be praying for that, surely, Ed.
I don't like to think that they'd be praying for it, but whether it just be Big Tam makes a fairly massive mistake in the race that might be sort of race ending. I don't think any of us wish sort of a disconnection on each other. An accident maybe, but probably not a disconnection. But Doherty, on the second timing marker, was 7 tenths up on his time, which would give him fourth.
Yeah, let's see as he crosses the line. Yeah, there we go. He definite improvement there. I believe that was fourth place that we saw. And so Doherty James 1.2 seconds off the off the pole time, but improving massively as we see the
doing
guys.
what he needs to do.
Yeah, so we're just loading up into the our feature race for the evening. Obviously, this feature race is a standing start. Is 19 laps of this Mount Panorama circuit. There is, of course, also a mandatory pit stop for the guys, and obviously we also in CRS we run safety cars for the racing. So if there's 2 or more drivers involved in an incident, we do call a safety car. The guys all slow down and reform the pack just to try and keep the racing a little bit close, and just to kind of make sure everyone has a bit of a fair crack, just to kind of negate any kind of first lap kind of trouble. So the pit window is open at lap 6, and the safety car window is up to lap 8. So if there are 2 or more cars involved in an accident up to lap 8, we'll call a safety car. Sorry, Ed.
So I was just going to say, I think, to be honest, the sort of turn 1 trouble, obviously the aptly named Hell Corner, T1 on this track, it's quite a tight corner to obviously have 7 cars all running into at once. Plus, see, all these guys have been running qualifying and practice, but it's very different when it comes into physically making that first turn.
Yeah, when you're surrounded by a massive pack of cars, obviously that track does seem to shrink exponentially, and we're just waiting for the lights to go out. So there we go. There's 5 lights on. You can hear the revs rise, and we're green. That's go. So Sausage Mary away from the lights, and a screaming start from Calm Big Tam there, and Jacob up into 4th place. Ed, Jacob might even
great
take another
start
place.
From Jacob.
Yeah, an incredible start from Jacob there, and
here comes the drag race.
The drag race down the mountain straight up to Griffin. So we're just going to follow along. Calm Big Tam managing to jump both of the first 2 cars and make his way into the lead.
That's incredible car placement for that first corner. Absolutely sensational. But obviously, as we've seen, Tam not done a lot of running on high fuel in the practice sessions and bits, so that's going to be interesting. Yeah,
we'll see how this pans out. And the big loser out of those first few corners is Doherty James, back down to 6th place there, Ed, to dropping a couple of places.
Chasing Band, which is the target he needs to have.
Oh, as we see, I believe that's Sausage Miyagi hitting the wall there. Sausage Miyagi making contact with the wall. Let's hope he's not got too much damage on that car. We're just having a quick look just to see. So that promotes Redshift 80 up to 2nd place. Calm Big Tam, the guys come down the hill for the first time. As we see them heading towards Forest Elbow. Just going to have a quick look back through the pack with Jacob seemingly able to stay with these Renaults at the moment.
I mean, it's going to be interesting to see sort of what damage level Sausage suffered through that one. Although the straight line speed doesn't seem to be suffering at all, that was a fair impact.
That seems to be a fairly hefty impact, but the car doesn't seem too badly affected right now.
He's pressuring thou who should not be named.
With GRG, he's got GRG Jacob in the mirrors as well, so he's definitely got a lot to think about. And Tam able to pull the gap out to about a second so far, but it does seem that Redshift is able to kind of keep him in sight at the very least, as we see Tam just clipping the grass a little bit there.
It's very much Tam's MO is get out in front, and just his ability to consistently put in incredibly fast lap times is sensational and a joy to watch. It's kind of frightening for everyone else, to be honest.
Yeah, he definitely. There definitely needs to be I think next season there needs to be a Tam class, apart from the Tier 1 touring cars. Ed.
As we see, Jacob making a move on Miyagi.
Yeah, we're just skipping there. Jacob able to, as we see, Jacob in the wall there. So I don't know if there was any contact there. I didn't see the move there, but it does look like that's given Banzlowski the run on Sausage Miyagi. That's Banzlowski up into 4th place now. So our 2nd place runner in the championship, Banzlowski, pressuring Jacob for third place there.
As we moved back
through the field, and these four guys at the front of the field all running within a second as Jacob hits the wall again.
Oh, that was Jacob hitting the wall again.
That was a big old slap into the wall there, and that does look like that BMW's got a little bit of damage on the right hand side from that contact. It does looks like a little bit of a scuff as the guys come over the top and down the hill now.
It's a very brave tactic, making that much contact. it's not going to end well for you at the end of the day if you're going to keep doing it lap after lap.
Yeah, and Redshift does seem to be able to stay with Tam a little bit there in second place, just keeping Tam in sight at this point. So we'll see what the tactics are in terms of pit strategy here.
I think potentially he's just finding his rhythm and obviously realising Jacob's dropped off a bit and he's not getting that pressure. He can really now sort of just focus his eyes front whilst it's looking like Jacob's having a lot of pressure putting on him by Banslowski at the moment. I think that car might be carrying a bit of damage, which is also, if Jacob can slow Bans up, that's going to help James, who's coming back on this field as well.
That plays into Jacob's hands. So just to let the guys at home know, obviously Carl Big Tam, our championship leader at the moment, only needs 8 points to secure the championship. So he could have this championship wrapped up in the first race. Obviously, we're not trying to get too ahead of ourselves. It's still a long race to go, but at this point, looking fairly positive for Tam.
I sort of see just off screen in the background there, Dizzy making contact with the wall. I don't know whether he's had an issue on sort of earlier on in the race, but really seems to be suffering with getting that car stopped at the moment in the fast corner or the slow speed corners.
Yeah, as we just have a quick look at Dizzy's kind of speedo there. He doesn't seem to be down on pace, Ed. He seems to be kind of running, but it does look like he's had a bit of an issue somewhere around the track. And Doherty James seems to be getting held up by Sausage Miyagi there at the back of the field as well.
I think it's like this is one of the worst points, especially if you've got pace, to be stuck behind someone. That was cigarette paper close to the wall there for Doherty. But it's not the top of the mountain. It's not a place you want to be sort of stuck behind a slower car because you're just losing time constantly.
Yeah, you definitely there's definitely very few places to pass through this kind of tight technical downhill section, and you don't want to be sending a move down the inside of someone there. It's an incredibly risky place to try something.
If you're going to try over the mountain, you need to know that the other driver you're with is going to be completely compliant with the move, which I don't think any of these guys are going to be just going to go, oh, here you go, I'll stay to the right or the left for you. I think they're all going to fight it, which means that's next to impossible to do without an absolute stroke of genius, which can look like absolute madness in the slightest bit of contact.
Yeah, absolutely, and the fortunes turning around incredibly quickly up on the mountain section. Obviously, very, very narrow through, especially through Skyline, the Dipper, and down towards Forest Elbow. That whole section kind of is incredibly difficult to pass. So if you're stuck behind the car with, like you say, less pace than you, then it's got to be an incredibly frustrating situation. But the other story is that Redshift 80 seems to be able to stay with Tam right now. Redshift 80 only about 6 or 7 tenths behind Tam at this point.
Absolutely, I think, to be honest, that's something that Tam's probably not going to be quite used to, especially after the last couple of rounds. Is someone staying with him? I think that's going to be quite a new feeling for him.
Yeah, definitely. He seems to. We've not seen Tam put under much pressure in these races, so it'd be interesting to see how he reacts through this race.
He seems to have a bit of a pace advantage, sort of, what looked like it through sort of the first few corners and sort of going over Skyline and now coming down into the Dipper, but...
Oh, as we see Banslowski, sorry to cut across you there, Ed, Banslowski now taking third place from Jacob, so Jacob losing a bit of momentum coming up the hill, and Banslowski now, our second place runner in the championship, Banslowski now up to third place.
Yeah, but look at the big orange car sitting behind Miyagi still. It's if Doherty can find a way round, I think Jacob must have just made contact with the wall coming through Skyline there. He really seemed to lose a large amount of pace.
Yeah, obviously when we kind of last looked at these guys, there was a good kind of 7 or 8 tenths buffer. As we see the slipstreaming race down the Conrad straight
going
there.
through the chase, Jacob, and they are chasing.
Jacob sends it up the inside into the chase. So Jacob running wide, that's going to lose him potentially quite a lot of time there. That's 3 places in one corner he's lost there just by overcooking that corner a little bit. And Doherty James now looking down the outside of Sausage Miyagi. So Jacob's got to be incredibly frustrated with himself at this point, Ed.
I think it's that thing we said earlier, which is it's a dangerous tactic to assume you can keep brushing the wall without any repercussions, and I think that's now starting to catch up with him just a little bit.
Yeah, definitely, and it very much looks like Jacob has slapped the wall. I'm just going to see if I can get a closer look at that car. But it does definitely look like he slapped the wall, and there's a bit of damage on the right-hand side of that car. As you see, Doherty James is looking to the inside zone, inside of Sausage Miyagi. So Doherty James now up into 4th place. So these guys very much know that they are fighting for position in the championship. With I believe Sausage Miyagi isn't too far behind either.
This is now that's a bit of argy-bargy there.
Sorry, I was looking down at the points there, Ed, so I missed what happened. But Sausage Miyagi currently sitting on 116 points, so still very much all to play for Sausage Miyagi, and he has a chance at 2nd or 3rd place in this championship.
I think what we've just missed is Jacob finding his way back up into 4th behind Bands as Doherty James and Sausage came into contact. Sort of coming just through the cutting on the exit. There was a bit of squeezing going on there, and I don't think James is going to be overly happy with that.
Yeah, I think James is going to be gunning to get back past Sausage Miyagi as the guys come through Foriselvo for lap 5 this time around. So the guys heading down the straight, and obviously this straight incredibly long. And as we saw last time, the kind of the suck on. For the slipstream on these cars is incredible, as we see Doherty James just closing up on the back of the pack there.
I mean, looking at Jacob's pace at the moment, it's clearly something in that car still.
Yeah, definitely. Although he does seem to lose pace coming through the chase, and it just allows the Renaults to come up behind it. I wonder if the BMW, well, we've kind of established through previous rounds that the BMW does seem to have a bit of a straight line speed advantage.
It seems to really latch onto that slipstream really well, and to be honest, coming down that long straight there, it's a nice bit of a breather for them. After making it down the mountain, you get that sort of 4 seconds, 10 seconds just to take a breath.
Yeah, just to kind of recompose yourself and, like you say, take a breath and kind of wait for the chase to come up. As we see Doherty James now looking to the inside of Sausage Miyagi, and that is lap 6, so that is the pit window now open. I don't think we're going to see anybody this early, Ed, but I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing people in the next few laps.
No, but James just struggling to get that move done into turn 2 there. He just can't seem to hold that inside line around Griffin's. Yeah,
I wonder if the BM's starting to, if they're having to push the BMW quite hard, and whether he's starting to struggle with his front tyres there.
Potentially, it's very much a track that is going to make you. Well, it's definitely going to make that front right tyre start sweating. There's a lot of high speed, or at least high pressure corners on the tyres, but especially with the sort of vertical changes for them.
Yeah, definitely. And suddenly we're just going to head back to the front of the field there. Big Tam just pulling a couple of tenths on Redshift, but Redshift very much still still in this fight, Ed.
He's not letting him run away, which, like I said again, this is something I don't think Tam is used to. Usually, well, from the races I've commentated on, Tam's found himself a bit of clean air out front, and he's just capitalised on it. Whereas this time, it looks like Thou Who Should Not Be Named has just got his number. He's just holding him there.
Yeah, we're used to Big Pam, just kind of doing a Mary Poppins and kind of disappearing off into the sunset, but that doesn't seem to be happening this time around.
No, I think Thou Who Should Not Be Named is gonna make him work for it.
So as we see Doherty James now up into 4th place, putting a huge amount of pressure on Banslawski through Hell Corner there, and going to try and look for a move down the inside of Banslawski into Griffin's Bend. We're just going to stay with these guys, and the guys giving each other just the correct amount of room there, just enough room for the guys to get through.
This is for second in the championship. This is a big move.
Yeah, it looks like Bands is going to try the cutback there, as we see Sausage Miyagi just running a little bit wide in the background there. But like you say, that then promotes Doherty James up to second in the championship.
Yeah, this is both races this evening for these two guys is really a case of who finishes. Point. Yeah, it's who finishes where between the two of them. And especially since they're currently sitting third and fourth. It's not like a big gap. So next race, if it swings the other way,
as we see James getting it wrong wide there. So that gives Banslawski a chance, surely, to close up on the back of Doherty James, and this makes things nice and interesting for us. There's some great racing here at Mount Panorama.
Yeah, and obviously, from racing with Bands recently, he's a great guy to have close racing with. He's phenomenal for leaving room and really pushing you.
Yeah, definitely, and he's definitely a clean racer as well, though. It just kind of gives just enough room to race. He's not an easy person to pass by any stretch of the imagination, but just gives you just enough room to kind of be on the right side of proper. As we see Jacob, Jacob, a little bit of contact there from Bands. On Bands, I think Jacob will have to give that place back to Bands if he...
I think he's going to try and hold the move.
I think the guys make their way down to Murray's Corner, and Jacob might look for a move on Doherty James here. I think Bands is going to be fuming about that one.
Yeah, not at all happy if I was Bands. He braked to the right point, and Jacob's kind of, in the nicest way possible, fighting a move that really was created by contact.
Yeah, as we see Sausage Miyagi now putting a move on Banslawski, so that takes the pressure off Doherty James for a little bit, just to puts Banslawski kind of a little bit further back down, but I'm sure he'll be kind of trying to get back past these guys. It doesn't look like any of these guys have the pace to break away from the pack at this point, Ed.
No, they're all holding it incredibly close, and I think, looking at it, just because Bands has sort of slipped back a little bit at the moment, I genuinely don't think it's going to stay that way. I think with the way it's going, there could be some fireworks between those four.
Yeah, definitely. I'm kind of hesitant to look. I feel a bit bad because we've literally followed that battle for about 2 laps, but to be honest, it's so interesting just watching the 4 of them go at it. But we just go back to the front. Big Tam now just starting to stretch his legs a little bit and kind of pull away a little bit at the front of the field. So not pulling away by much. It's just a 1.7 second gap at the moment.
No, which again, I keep saying for Tam, usually that gap's been extended by a bit more now. And do you think the fact that his spot is not telling him, but he's got 5 seconds and keep up the pace is probably a bit unusual for him.
Yeah, like we say, Tam kind of... We're used to seeing Tam over the last few rounds just disappearing off into the distance. And Banslawski now dropping off the back of that pack a little bit, Ed. Do we think he's taken a little bit of damage somewhere?
It didn't look like the contact with Jacob was was too damaging, but it might have done some rear suspension damage potentially.
Yeah, I'm just trying to have a look at Bans as he comes around Murray's corner just to see what the back end of that Renault looks like. There is a little bit of bodywork damage, but it doesn't look too serious. So hopefully we'll see Bans on the back of this pack anytime soon, as we just follow along with Doherty James now into Hell Corner. So, but yeah, as we see
Jacob
just making a move. Jacob making a move there, and Jacob making a mistake there and allowing Sausage Miyagi back past. So this is going to make things nice and interesting between Jacob and Banslowski now, as Banslowski I'm sure Banslowski's going to be desperate to make that move back on Jacob, surely.
I think frustrated is what Bans will be right now. I don't think I've ever driven against him and Bans be angry. But yeah, I definitely think a certain amount of frustration from him, knowing sort of this isn't his favourite track, and he was putting on a really solid
Ban's
performance
dropping way off the back of that pack now. So I think there is something slightly awry going on there. I didn't see whether Banslowski ran a little bit wide, but now just a couple of seconds behind Jacob. So Banslowski just dropping off the back of the field, and an absolute disaster for our second place runner in the championship, Ed.
I think potentially maybe that contact, unless we've missed a little love tap on the wall somewhere, but that contact with Jacob might have done a bit more damage than as we see Jacob.
Jacob
going very slow.
So Jacob getting it very wrong through the through kind of in towards the skyline there. So Jacob getting it incredibly wrong. So that puts Jacob back down to sixth place, and we didn't kind of catch the incident, but we can kind of guess that he may have got it wrong coming over the top of the mountain and kind of just lost the car there, Ed.
Yeah, I've said this with Jacob, and just that consistent sort of bit of tapping on the wall might have just lost out for him there, and maybe a much bigger bit of contact. But I think sort of out of that confrontation, Bans is looking like the biggest loser, and whether he's carrying a bit more damage, we'll see to whether he wants to pit or not.
Yeah, obviously the pit window open at this point, and the guys with about 10 laps to go. Just as we enter lap 10 of 19, the safety car window now closed. So
and Bans in the pits as well.
Redshift 80. So it would be interesting to see if Bans stays in the pit to repair a little bit of damage here, Ed. As we watch the guys just going to work on the car, and Bans straight back out again. So it doesn't look like Bans had any damage. It just looks like he kind of came in, fulfilled his obligation to take a pit stop, and then as we see Doherty James running really wide and Sausage Miyagi up the inside. So that looks like a move there in potential for the Sausage Miyagi, not quite able to get it done this time around. I think that's a fairly sensible move through the cutting there, Ed.
Yeah, giving the room, because it's the traction out of that corner and how slow it is through the cutting. It's a difficult place to make a move happen and stick. And just for making a note for everyone that's still left to pit, it's a really difficult pit entry, this one, because you're essentially having to take two S's on the way into the pits. So if you've not practiced it, that could really shake things up.
Yeah, definitely. And just moving to the back of the field now, something we've seen quite a lot over this championship, and that's Jacob and Dizzy kind of nose to tail. And this could, obviously Dizzy's still having to take a pit stop, but this could develop into quite an interesting little battle. I know for a fact that the guys get on fairly well in real life, but no love lost on the track between these two.
I'm not sure if Dizzy hasn't already pitted.
Actually, I think you might be right. I think Dizzy pitted at the start of the race.
I think Diz might have already taken that early pit stop option. Potentially. It's happened before. Dizzy has accidentally started the race on hard tyres.
And as we see the battle for second place on the road at the moment, with Doherty James and Sausage Miyagi. Sausage Miyagi still hanging on to the back of Doherty James there, only about 4/10 behind him at the moment. So definitely looks like these two guys have got fairly similar pace there.
Yeah, absolutely. And to Sausage's credit at the moment, he's carrying a bit of damage from an earlier incident. Obviously where he clipped the wall fairly hard, and he's still right up the back end of James.
Yeah, definitely. As we see Sausage Miyagi just looking up the inside of Doherty James, and Doherty James always seems to run wide there through Griffins.
That's just giving Sausage the opportunity to get right up James's rear end.
Are you saying what I think you're saying, Ed?
You laughed, so I will let you take your assumptions.
But at least we're not talking about any sweaty gooches or anything like that on this channel. This is a family channel, Ed, and
it's a family channel and a professional broadcast. As
we see Doherty James and Sausage Miyagi making their way down the hill now, with Miyagi still all over the back of Jacob, and it does look like the Renault has the advantage. As we see Jacob just hanging the tail of that BMW out there. It does look like the Renault has the advantage through the tight technical section.
Yeah, that sort of added sort of front end power for the Renault really seems to favour it through there, but just might not have the pull on the straights.
Although he's very heavily in the slipstream at this point, he's only about 2/10 behind, so it does look like he's closing in. It looks like he might be able to make a move this time around, as he looks up the inside through the chase. I don't think he's going to get the move done this time. He looks for the switch back there, not able to make that done. Jacob defending the line very well there, and as we see,
running a little bit wide.
Yeah, Sausage just. I think both the guys ran a little bit wide there, but that kind of dropped Sausage back a little bit. With I think Sausage sold him a little bit of a dummy there.
Yeah, I think so. I think James was fully expecting both of them in the pits, but
yeah, Sausage kind of looking as though he was about to dive into the pits, and like I said, just sold Doherty James a bit of a dummy there, I think. And just to the back of the field now, with Jacob Dizzy able to overtake Jacob somewhere out on track. So it's going to be interesting to watch how these guys get on, and whether anything develops. It does look like Jacob is now making his way onto the back, as Dizzy really out wide into the chase there.
It looks like Dizzy might have had a bit of contact as well. That front end, I'm sure, shouldn't quite look like that.
Yeah, I think that BMW was made at 4:30 on a Friday afternoon there, Ed, with those kind of panel gaps.
Yeah, I think Dizzy might want to sort of take that back to the factory and have a word with the guys if that's how it left. Obviously, not too much contact. He's still got both headlights on, but yeah, it'll be interesting to know how that happened.
Yeah, I think I'm just hearing on the kind of the race kind of feed that there was just a little touch between Jacob and Dizzy there. So I think there has been a little bit of argy-bargy between the two guys.
I think that's interesting, just because obviously we know Jacob had that slight bit of contact with Banslowski earlier. It seems like Jacob's having a bit of a messy race at the moment.
Yeah, it does seem so, as we just kind of take a look at our leader, and Tam now coming through the chase and still putting in 2:15.6s. So definitely still has the pace.
It's going to be interesting to see sort of what his pit stop time and length is. Obviously, Miyagi currently occupying second place, but hasn't pitted himself either. So yeah, I haven't been timing the pit stops around here, but hopefully it's about 26 seconds.
That would make things nice and interesting at the end of the race for us, with he who shall not be named currently sitting in third place, but obviously Sausage Miyagi still having to kind of take a pit stop, as we see Sausage Miyagi this time around just coming into the pit. So that promotes Redshift 80 back up to second place.
It will be interesting now to see how close James is to the back of Miyagi after this pit stop. Obviously, those two running, well, Doherty just in front before what we think was a dummy sent by Sausage.
Yeah, so I was just going to follow along with Doherty now, as Just gonna keep an eye on Doherty James and see where Sausage. So Sausage Miyagi able to come out in front of Doherty James there. So
clearly
Doherty
the overcut
James,
just working a bit.
Yeah, Sausage Miyagi obviously with some clean air, with Doherty James pitting, able to put in a really fast, a very fast in lap and kind of get like you say, get the overcut.
But again, Sausage is still carrying that little bit of damage, so whether that's going to sort of potentially cost him, because he's obviously not fixed it in the pit stops.
Yeah, I wonder if that just that happens to just be cosmetic damage there, Ed.
Could well show, but obviously James now has a target, and he can clearly see Sausage on track, so I think we're now about to see something like just chasing him down.
Yeah, Doherty James has taken about 7/10 out of Sausage on the first part of this lap alone.
Obviously, looking at the timing screens, I'm sure probably James is well aware of Bands being in 5th as well, and knowing how important that 4th place will be for him. So whether he maybe backs off a bit from Sausage when he catches up with him, and consolidates the points, or whether he really tries to push for that podium.
Yeah, as we see Jacob now closing in on the back of Dizzy, coming down the mountain, and like I said earlier, these two guys definitely have a bit of history in this championship, so it's interesting to see, to kind of keep an eye on this race and see what happens. But Dizzy there just kind of covering the line off, and it looks like Jacob's just looking for the slipstream down the Conrad Straight. So I think this battle may come down to who's behind on the last lap, Ed.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be honest, it's going to be an interesting one to see where Dizzy decides to defend this one.
So Dizzy just looking to the inside through the chase there, so just kind of covering his line off and not giving Jacob any room to get through. But it does look like it does look like Doherty James has just dropped off the back of Sausage Miyagi a little bit. So Sausage seems to have the pace in the first part of the circuit at least.
Possibly, or just maybe Doherty just running a little bit wide on one of these corners, just pushing. I can't imagine it's very nice sort of going into the pits slightly ahead and then coming out and realising that you're 2 seconds down. So yeah, it's that fight between fast laps and consistency that James has really got to try and get his head round right now. Yeah,
definitely. He's definitely going to be gunning for the back of Sausage Miyagi, especially as he's got Miyagi just a little bit up the road just to aim for us. We see Miyagi just getting a little bit sideways off the curb there.
I think that twitch was pure fear of that wall, which to be fair, I think most of the guys have got.
As we just watch our leader coming round the final corner to start lap 15. He's going to have to take a pit stop fairly soon. 27-second gap back to Redshift 80. I'm not entirely sure that is enough time, Ed.
It's gonna be close. And sort of that question I put earlier: has Tam practiced this pit entry? Because it can be a real pig to get through that S's, and you always think you can do it a little bit quicker than what you can, and yeah, it's very easy here to either lose it on the way into the pits or just get a pit lane penalty just as silly as going across it a bit too quick.
Yeah, definitely. And as we just look at the two guys currently battling for the wooden spoon in this race, as it were, as we see Jacob up the side of Dizzy there. Looks like he might have the inside for the second corner of the chase. Looks like he might get the move done this time around, Ed.
Dizzy with the late braking, but just running himself a little bit wide.
Just overcooking the braking there a little bit, and just outbraking himself, and he has to concede the position to Jacob, but still all over the back of Jacob, and just kind of... That was a little bit of a send move there from Dizzy. Definitely determined to get that one back. I don't think that one was entirely on. But
luckily, Jacob seemed to realise he was there and knew what Dizzy was up to. If not, that would have been contact.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, these two guys very experienced at racing each other, and yeah, I think this pretty much all but kind of wraps up the championship for Tam. With was it 3 laps to go? As long as barring any kind of major mishap, and I'm sure now that I've said this, there's something's going to happen. But that pretty much, he looks in a fairly commanding position right now.
It would take something catastrophic for Tam currently, obviously with. Oh, there we go. Dizzy
as we see
Jacob.
Dizzy and
wow.
Jacob coming together. So just
it'd be interesting to see what caused that.
And I believe that might have been it looked to me like Jacob had got turned around. So
that's a lot of damage for the front end of that BMW, and it will be interesting to know how that came about.
Yeah, it might be interesting to have a bit of a word with the.
It looks like either Dizzy's suffering damage or Dizzy's letting Jacob through.
I think Dizzy is suffering damage. It's damage that we can't see on the broadcast, but it does. I did hear from him that he got 86% damage on the front of the car. So I think this is going to be a limp back to the pits for Dizzy and Jacob as we see Tam coming through and up the mountain now.
Yeah, sorry, I was saying with Tam, and now I've completely lost my train of thought. Yeah, unless something catastrophic sort of happens to him, which I don't think any of the guys will be wishing, because he's shown that raw pace and the consistency to lay it down as well, which is something it's difficult to achieve. You either have sort of you can build consistency and then speed. It's very difficult to build consistency into speed, though.
Yeah, definitely. You can always dial it back a little bit to find that consistency.
It's still
So Tam now with a 28-second gap on Redshift 80. I think he might have just pulled enough of a gap now to be safe, but we're going to see him come in the next couple of laps hopefully, and we'll see what happens, and barring any major mishaps, as just going to have a quick look out on track and just see who's near each other. So Sausage Miyagi, obviously our 4th place runner in the championship. Sausage Miyagi might make a few points up on Banslowski. The real loser out of this race is Banslowski. I feel for Banslowski, running 2nd in the championship and kind of not having the greatest of races, and kind of losing, as we see Doherty James, who is our 3rd place runner, who's definitely going to take 2nd place in the championship at the end of this race.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to hear from Bands to see sort of whether that contact with Jacob actually sort of did damage to his rear suspension, or whether Bands was better sort of running in a group. He did sort of say before this race, this isn't his favourite racetrack. It's not one he particularly favours, but it'll be interesting to sort of see how he feels about what happened.
Yeah, definitely. It'd be interesting to kind of get his point of view on that incident. It'd be interesting to see whether that gets submitted to the stewards to have a look at. Obviously, we caught the incident on the stream, so we'll see if anybody submits that for review. See if Bands submits it. But we're going to see. I'm just going to follow along with Big Tam as he makes his way around Forest Elbow and down, and I believe this is the there's one more lap to go after this one, so on lap 17 of 19 right now.
I think we're either going to see Big Tam come in this lap whilst he's flashing his lights. It's not over yet, Tam. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see whether he comes in this lap or whether he does it on lap 18. He's a very frequent visitor to the pits right at the end of a race once he knows. Well, once he knows he's got the gap he needs.
Yeah, and I tell you, there we go. That's Big Tam into the pits. So. As we see
Jacob's
the two guys
front bumper having a wave.
So both of these cars definitely going back to the BMW factory after this. But so you see the front bumper of Jacob's car hanging off as the two guys still nose to tail out on track. So we might see some fireworks in this last couple of laps.
I think BMW might be questioning what these guys were doing with the cars. I don't think I don't think there's any questioning I brought it like this.
So the person to watch at this point, as we see Tam coming out, and only about 5 seconds between Tam and Redshift 80, so not as clear as we thought he was.
No, and that would have broken Tam's rhythm a bit. Sort of, he's very consistently just been able to put laps in, but that stop in the pits, it kind of just breaks your rhythm up, and how you feel. So this is a moment where mistakes can be made, and as long as thou who shall not be named, sort of keeps in touch, he's in with a shout.
Yeah, definitely. About 4.8 seconds the gap at this point. So, like I say, barring he seems fairly safe at this point, barring any major incidents. But obviously, coming down the hill at the Mountain Panorama circuit, pretty much anything can happen. This is an incredibly tight circuit, and I don't think it needs to be underestimated by all those guys watching just how hard the kind of what we're seeing right now actually is, how difficult it is to run this consistently and this fast for 19 laps.
I've done quite a few laps around this track, and it's frustrating at the best of times, especially for Calm, and I really don't want to say his name this close to the end.
He's got 21 seconds. You'll be all right.
For Redshift, and he's going to be really upset that I've said that now. But they've ran basically 19 laps of incident-free running for those two, which that's an amazing credit. Ran one of the hardest tracks in Project Cars to drive fast.
Yeah, definitely,
and get right.
Yeah, definitely. Redshift closing in on Big Tam.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you lied to me. They've still got a lap.
They've still got 1 lap to go, and Redshift closed in about a second on that last lap. So we might be seeing something here, Ed. I don't know. I don't want to kind of tempt fate too much. It does look like Tam's kind of stabilised the gap a little bit now, but he definitely gained a second on that last lap.
He shall not be named because he's taken another half a second.
I think Tam might be. I think Tam. Let me have a quick look at. We'll just bring Tam's speedo up on track, but doesn't
we
look
think
like
Tam's noticed. No, he's just put in 200ths of a second quicker.
So as we see Tam coming round, as he makes his way down the hill. So obviously. We're going to kind of go back to Jacob and Dizzy in a sec, but I just want to kind of celebrate and applaud a completely commanding season for Tam. Obviously we missed Tam in the first round or so, and but as soon as he found his pace and as soon as he kind of found his rhythm, just absolute dominance.
Absolute
dominance
to
for
say,
Tam.
We went out after the race last week just to try his driving style, and he's found something else in that. We tried it and obviously couldn't couldn't quite get it right, and it's a difficult style to master. But he's really brought it home consistently. Last 3 races in a row, and has felt pressure this race, and yet still delivered.
Yeah, he's kind of, we've seen what he's made of in this race. He's definitely not had it all his own way in this race, and kind of
he looks
we've
happy
seen
with
that
that
he
one.
can handle that. I think we might be celebrating as he crosses the line. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That's the race win for Big Tam, and that mathematically takes him above the threshold for winning the championship. So that actually makes Big Tam the CRS Season 1 Tier 1 champion for this season, and with 1 race to go still. So we've still got our sprint race this evening. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Big Tam go out and try and dominate this this kind of event as well. But as we see, Redshift 80 there in second, so a bit of an improvement, and I feel like I can say his name. I've been saying his name all race, but I can say his name now. Redshift 80 that's bringing it home in second place, with Doherty James bringing it home in third place. And we're just watching the guys coming through Forest Elbow now. So this is for the Wooden Spoon Award in this final, in this round 15 of the Touring Car Championship. So we'll see what these guys can do down the back straight. Jacob just trying to slipstream, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see a move coming into the chase as Dizzy seems to cover off to take it down the outside, and Jacob
that's the right line
quite
for
able
Dizzy.
to take it, to kind of take it.
Oh.
Dizzy outbraking himself and kind of giving the position to Jacob there. So just kind of outbraking himself into the second part of the chase, just fighting really hard for that position as the guys make their way around Murray's corner and onto the start-finish straight. So I'm going to try and grab the guys for a quick chat and see if they'll indulge us with a quick interview before the sprint race. So
I
we'll see
have to say, for sort of Big Tam and the feeling he must be having right now, like, I know that feeling of recent, and it's a great one, and I imagine he is absolutely loving it.
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember it. I'm sure you'll help me out here. Who finished third in that race? I believe it was Doherty James.
Doherty, will have taken provisional sort of second place in the championship so far.
Yeah, so very much all still to play for second place in the championship, but a commanding win once again for Tam, and we'll see how he reacts as the guys are just making their way into the party right now. And we're just waiting for the guys to get loaded in and kind of sort it out. But Tam, if you can hear us, we'll come to you first, mate.
I can hear these guys.
Yeah, so a bit more pressure in that race than we're used to seeing you under there, mate. You seem to be kind of being pushed by Redshift 80 there for a good chunk of the race.
Definitely, he was keeping me honest, believe you me. During the qualifying I had messed about with my gear ratios and I'm virtually made fourth gear no point to it, to be honest, but that's not an excuse. Redshift was on me, get me honest all the way. Good race.
Yeah, definitely. We're used to seeing a bit more of a lead for, at the end of the race, but I don't know if you've worked this out or not. But that actually secures the championship for you there, mate. That actually makes you the CRS Season 1 Touring Car Champion. So just kind of talk us through your thoughts right now.
Just happy, I suppose. I'm not a man of few words now. I'm happy. That'll do me.
But yeah, well done, mate, and a great season from you, mate, and it's been a pleasure to watch.
It's been a pleasure being in it. Thanks very much, guys.
We're just going to move on to Doherty James, who came home in third place there. Doherty, if you can just make sure you've got your audio included in the stream.
Yep.
Hello, mate. So just a bit of an up and down race for you there, mate. That kind of all came about at in the last sort of third of the race for you there, mate.
Yeah, it was more just keeping it on the track, not hitting the walls, which I did a couple of times, a couple of moments that could have gone quite badly if I hadn't kept it on the track. So just needed just to put the laps in, even if I wasn't pushing too hard, and just bring home the points.
Yeah, definitely. And kind of talking of points, that actually provisionally puts you up into second place in the championship. Banslowski kind of bringing it home a couple of places behind you, and you guys obviously only separated by 1 point in the championship. So with Big Tam kind of wrapping up the championship, does your mentality going into the sprint race change at all, or are you kind of just out there racing, just doing what you do normally?
I think we all knew it was over as soon as Tam started racing. So, but we're fighting for second. So, I mean, really, it's just driving a race. I'm not going to think too much into it because that's when you crash. So, if I can bring home second, awesome. Third, great. But that's even better than I thought I would have done from the start of the season anyway. So, just whatever position, I've done my best.
Yeah, well done, mate, and well done for bringing it home in third. And we just move on to Redshift 80 now. I wonder if Redshift can hear us.
Yep, I'm with you, boys.
Hello, mate. We were a little bit hesitant to say your name there through the stream, but
the man
definitely
who we named.
but Base made me say it once.
Fair enough.
So, but definitely a kind of just keeping Tam honest there in that kind of feature race. Is there anything that has kind of changed in your approach in the last week, or does this track just really suit you?
Yeah, no, not a lot of change. I do love this track, so I've maybe put a bit more time into it, just trying to find the absolute top time. I just wanted to say, by the way, congratulations to Tam on the championship. Obviously, what a driver. But yeah, for the race, I was chasing him, I was keeping him there, and then I got halfway through and I just thought I was quicking him at bits, he was quicking me at bits, and I thought me being behind him was keeping him sharp, so that's why I decided to go for the early pit stop and see if he would keep up the intensity without me chasing him, which he obviously did, so that failed. But I was just glad to be able to see him when we crossed the finish line. That's quite an achievement, I think.
Yeah, definitely, and only about 5 seconds between you after he came out after his stop. So an incredible drive from you there, mate, to kind of keep it that close. And well done on the second place.
Thank you very much. I don't think I could have done much better, so I'm delighted with that.
Cool. We'll see what the sprint race brings for everybody. So thanks to the guys for joining us, and we'll see you all out there in the sprint race.
Cheers.
But Ed, an interesting first race there for this touring car. Any kind of big things that you think we need to take away from that race at the moment?
I think the main thing is credit to Tam. Done fantastically, has really shown his pace, and just congratulations for taking home the championship on this one. It means he can sit back and really enjoy this next race. I should think he's still going to be going for the win. I don't see him stopping at this point, but it takes off a little bit of pressure. That also applies a lot to James and Banslowski. Second is all to play for. Sausage is still there as well. I believe he can still, if he has a good race, he's up there. And can put these guys under pressure.
Yeah, Ban's very much not out of this fight, and Sausage Miyagi coming through there. I believe in fourth. Is that fourth place for Sausage Miyagi?
Yeah.
And so gaining a few points on Banslowski, so just within touching distance of the front two guys. So if the guys kind of have a bit of a terrible start, or if they get stuck behind any traffic, then this might bring Sausage into the fight for second and third place.
Yeah, and we both know that Jacob and Dizzy have got more pace than they showed in that race. Obviously, a bit of contact happening here and there, but they're both they're both quicker guys than what happened in that last race, so they can definitely add something to this one, whether it just being in the mix for it, especially with this being a reverse grid.
Definitely,
We've just lost. Just lost Banslawski.
Yeah, we're just going to try and get bands back to in the lobby. Obviously, you guys are seeing the lobby screen at the moment, and but yeah, we're just kind of trying to find out what's happened with bands. But obviously, yeah, definitely no love lost between Dizzy and Jacob there at the end of that race, Ed.
No, not at all. I think obviously that they'll both know what was going on. Obviously, we missed the main part of what happened to Jacob and Dizzy's car there. Whether it was just they were both really close and a mistake was made. Even if they didn't make contact, they just had their own little sort of mini accidents because of driving that closely, or whether there was a bit of contact. It'll either be a steward's inquiry afterwards, or both of them would have sat there and gone, you know what, it was close, stuff happened, it doesn't need looking into.
Yeah, I think with this being the end of the season, it might be a slightly different story, but Jacob kind of having a bit of contact with Banslawski as well there at the start, and I think that kind of almost ruined Bands' race a little bit. Bands definitely kind of seemed to suffer after that, so I wonder if he had a little bit of damage there.
It did seem to unsettle Bands. He seemed to have got himself up into a position and was sort of pushing and fighting for it between, I think Doherty at that point was just in front of him, and I think that contact really sort of knocked the wind out of his race a bit. Whether it was damage or whether it was just confidence after that, I'm not sure. But yeah, I think Bands had a lot more to show. I'd be upset if it was damage that did it, because I know Bands and I know he's a quick driver. So yeah, if it was damage that sort of dragged him back, that's really unfortunate for him.
Yeah, definitely. He seems to. It's going to be a kind of an unfortunate way to end the season for Bands if that is the moment that defines his season.
Yeah,
we're just waiting for the. We're just waiting for the guys to all load in now, so we're just loading into the lobby. A 9-lapper for this sprint race, Ed. So a real short kind of. A short race here it seems, but obviously we can't forget that kind of this Mount Panorama circuit, like we said earlier, is incredibly long compared to our normal touring car circuits that we visit.
Yeah, much longer, but equally a lot more scope for mistake. As we saw from the first race, it can be made, and obviously knowing this race is going to be 10 laps shorter than the first one, it's got to make you think, like, especially for even Tam, who's going to be going for the win again, knowing Burt Redshift is that quick, he can't just pull the gap that he did in the last race. And pushing leads to mistakes at this track, and obviously doing the reverse grid, and we have Dizzy lining up next to Tam. We've seemed to have gained some extras.
So it does appear that we've got some AI in the lobby.
Yes,
at this point. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to restart the lobby and just get rid of those AI. Just as interesting as it would make it at this point.
Yeah. Just bear with me a minute, Chris. I'll be back in a second.
Yeah, no worries. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're just going to load back into the lobby. So, yeah, we're just going to load back into the lobby and see what's happening. Obviously, yeah, we had some AIs on the grid, and like I say, that would make things nice and interesting. But I don't think that's how we want to end the touring car season. And so we're just waiting for the guys to kind of sort the lobby out now. We should get an invite any second now. Just whilst we're kind of waiting for that lobby to go ahead, if there's anyone out there that's kind of watching and wants to try and get involved, We do have a Discord server which is in the bio for our Twitch page, which that gives you an invite into the Discord server, so you can join us on the Discord server. Obviously, this is the end of the touring car season, but I believe we will be back fairly soon, and we also run our GT5 lobby on a Monday night, as well as our 488 challenge. Tuesdays are our time attack events. So time attack, basically the way it works is for so time attack, we basically pick a track about 10 minutes before the event starts, pick a track and car combination, and you have a set amount of time to practice, and then everybody goes out, completes two hot laps, so an out lap and then 2 flying laps to try and set their fastest lap, and then the winner is the person that can hot lap the fastest. And I believe Ed is back now, and maybe Ed, you've had a little bit of experience. I'm just talking about our time attack events for the on the CRS Discord. What to you is the kind of the beauty of the kind of time attack events?
It's that uncertainty of going into it and not quite knowing where you are in relation to everyone else in the car and on that particular track. The great thing is, there's guys in the group who are fantastic at setting up the cars, who openly share what they've got with you. So even if you're not the best at setting up cars, but you are a good driver, they're going to share the information that will make you go quicker. I believe the last time attack I was in, one of the other guys gave me a tune, and I'll be honest, it allowed me to win that time attack.
Yeah, obviously, another kind of benefit of being in the Discord server is that there's obviously a big community of guys that are all contributing, and there's definitely I've learnt an awful lot since kind of making my way in to about setting up the cars and stuff like that.
I at this point can quite happily say as we're about to sort of kick off this race whilst we're all sinking in. Here we go.
So obviously the guy's gonna take a formation lap just to form the grid up.
Sorry, my mistake.
So at the moment it looks like it's Sausage Miyagi in first place, with Banzalowski in second, Jacob in third, Dizzy in fourth, Calm Big Tam in fifth, Doherty James in sixth, and Redshift 80 in Redshift 80 in sixth place, and then Doherty James in seventh. So a real chance for Sausage and Banzalowski to gain some points on Doherty James there, Ed.
Yeah, that's a lot of work to do for Doherty James. That the reverse grid has really not worked out for him in this one. It's really played into the hands of Miyagi and Bands. Obviously, Calm Big Tam's going to have some work to do behind Dizzy and Jacob here. I don't think he's going to particularly enjoy being stuck behind those BMWs. But yeah, Doherty's got work to do. Those sort of 5th, 6th and 7th all occupied by quick guys.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to make the race nice and interesting for these guys. And we're just kind of, as we see the guys, Dizzy just kind of holding the rest of the field up a little bit there, Ed, just kind of as the guys kind of close back up again now. But just kind of creating a bit of a gap between kind of front cars on this formation lap. So the guys now making their way down the hill, and I'm just going to bring the map up just so I know whereabouts on track we are.
I think Diz just might be trying to get some extra heat into those tyres before this race, knowing that he's he's going to have to sort of immediately apply some pressure to Jacob, because I can guarantee Tam is going to immediately start applying pressure to Dizzy. So yeah, as sort of as an odd one, Sausage is the only one that isn't going to need to apply pressure for once.
Yeah, this actually plays right into Banslowski's hands for the championship, for second place in the championship. If Banslowski can take the lead at the start of the race, I mean, he's got to get around Sausage Miyagi, so that's no mean feat there. But he's very much got to got a big old advantage on Doherty James, who doesn't have that much of a points lead coming out of the feature race.
No, this has got to be like Doherty James was purely pushing for position, but maybe Ban stopped pushing, knowing what this meant for the sprint race. Yeah,
possibly there might have been a little bit of tactics. So the guys cross the line and start the final race of the CRS Touring Car season. This is our sprint race here at Map Panorama. Banslowski already kind of dropping off the back of Sausage Miyagi. So Sausage getting the jump off the line, and then Redshift 80s all over the back of Dizzy as we make our way down to turn 2 for the first time.
Yeah, Jacob also putting pressure on Banslowski now and going for a move.
Yeah, as we see Jacob just clouting the wall there and dropping all the way down to the almost the back of the field there, I believe.
He's just lining himself up to have another battle with Dizzy at this point, I believe. Maybe a gentleman's agreement there, or something to that effect. But yeah, again, Jacob just, you can't risk clouting the wall over and over again and expecting nothing bad to happen to the car. It's a silly risk to consistently take, and I think that's something Jacob, as we have a spinner further back, I believe, someone really hit the wall there.
Yeah, everybody looks like they've made it through kind of relatively unscathed. Jacob's still at the back of the field there, so I'm not entirely sure who the spinner was, but these four guys kind of nose to tail at the back of the field.
My apologies, it really looked like someone really clouted the wall.
Yeah, and the real winner out of this whole situation is Redshift 80. Redshift 80, he who shall not be named, up into third place already.
Yeah, which is only, Miyagi holding first place. That's only helping his championship. I think at this point the best thing for Sausage is, but Bans, who's I believe is being overtaken by possibly not Bans. He shall not be named. Getting pressured by Dizzy potentially.
Yeah, just that's actually Tam just.
Sorry, it's Tam. Yeah.
Of Dizzy, yeah. So Tam with obviously showing pace in the. That was a bit of contact there between Tam and Dizzy. Just.
So I think that was Tam, Dizzy making a move on Tam, and Tam taking it back.
It was Dizzy now, and nose to tail again. Dizzy and Jacob are back at the kind of battling again, and the guy at the back of the field, someone I feel really sorry for at this point, is Doherty James, just kind of looking down the outside of Jacob here. It's going to be a straight drag race between the two BMWs.
I think Jacob has some damage. I think he's something on that car is suffering a bit right now, I believe.
Yeah, judging by the Doherty James going really wide through that second corner there, as we see the guys making their way up into the cutting, and Banslowski still keeping Sausage Miyagi honest, but it does look like Sausage is just pulling away ever so slightly.
I think what's really hard for us right now is obviously the Racing League's resident number cruncher, who normally keeps track of all the championships for us, is currently racing in this race. So it would be really handy to sort of have him.
Redshift just clouting the wall there. Redshift just clouting the wall. That kind of double tapped either side of the car. So let's see if there's any damage there, Ed, on Redshift 8.
I really hope not, because I was talking about him. But yeah, I
three
read some number
BMWs at the back of the
crunching. He's
field.
racing. And Jacob and Dizzy again.
Yeah, Jacob and
Obviously,
Dizzy
coming through the chase here. Oh, sorry,
so
down the Conrod straight into the chase.
Yeah, we're going to see a bit of a replay of race 1 here, and like I say, these two guys know each other fairly well. They know where each other's kind of fairly strong in this around this circuit. So it's going to make things very interesting. And Doherty James still at the back just doesn't seem to have the pace to get round these guys, and just losing time as Dizzy runs a little bit wide there, maybe losing a little bit of drive off the corner, and really robustly defending his line.
I think the difficulty for Doherty right now is he's in the same machinery as these two guys, as he gets shown the grass a little bit there. It's same machinery, and currently Jacob's catching a solid draft off Dizzy, and it's very difficult to overtake over the mountain. So currently, yeah, Jacob's got himself a bit covered just by having that draft.
Yeah, he definitely kind of, as we see Doherty just looking up the inside there. I think Jacob is very much in full attack mode at this point, as we see Jacob and Dizzy going side by side through the cutting. This is not going to end
difficult.
well.
Wow,
And makes it through.
Oh, as he just taps the wall. That was.
As we see Dizzy now losing a place
brave.
to Dizzy losing a place to Doherty James potentially here, as the guys go side by side. This is going to get very interesting through this as the track narrows through this section. Oh, and Doherty James just hits the wall.
Yeah. There was always going to be a loser at the end of that. That's next to impossible to run side by side through there.
Yeah, definitely. And Band's now coming under pressure from Calm Big Tam for second place. So that's not taken Big Tam very long to get through the field. And Big Tam putting in a 2:14.3. So that's qualifying pace there from Tam to make his way onto the back of Banslowski.
I said there was no way Tam, knowing that he's won the championship, was about to lie down and not try and take this race win. Obviously, it's been difficult. We're 4 laps into this, and it feels like we're only on lap 2. There's been enough happening at the start of this, but Tam wants to win, and at this point, Sausage really needs to push, because he has about 3 seconds to Tam and Banslowski, but I don't know how long Banslowski's going to be able to hold out from such pressure.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Obviously, Band's. As we see Band's running wide, I think this might be the move we can see here. As Tam looking to the outside of Banslowski there. I think he might have the drag down the straight, and this is going to make things nice and interesting. We'll stay with this battle and see if Banslowski can kind of maybe put a move back on Tam coming through the next section of the track. But I think Tam's got this move done.
I think the thing to watch for now is obviously with the fight going on between the BMWs, which is still incredibly close, but can Tam make essentially 7 to 8 tenths a lap and get a move done?
Yeah, Sausage Miyagi, if you remember all the way back to qualifying, it seems a very long time ago now, was actually running a fairly similar place to Tam and Redshift. So it's going to be interesting to see if Miyagi can kind of keep this pace up and potentially hold Tam off.
I think there's one thing catching Miyagi. It's going to be another passing him, and I know it's obviously you've got the advantage of the 2 very long straights on this track, but Sausage isn't about to give a win up at all. I think he's going to give it absolute hell to Tam when he comes up behind him. I don't think there's going to be any room or love lost given there. I think Sausage, after the last few weeks of results and everything that's happened, is he wants this win.
Yeah, there'll be a nice kind of story for the end of the season for Sausage there. obviously Sausage not having a great, was very much in the title fight at one point, and kind of very much in the hunt, and just kind of had a bad couple of rounds, and that just dropped him down to the 4th place. This might actually give Sausage Miyagi 3rd place in the championship here.
Yeah, as we see,
kind
I
of
think Redshift is slowly catching bands as well.
Yeah, just kind of doing the quick maths in my head.
We've lost Dizzy down to 7th. He was in front of Jacob in 5th.
Yeah, these guys fairly nose to tail at the back of the field at the moment. Dizzy obviously having a bad corner and losing a couple of places. It's very much a BMW battle at the rear of the field right now.
Yeah, and it's kind of, I'll be honest, it's sad to see. I'm very much a BMW fan, so that was contact between
I think
between Doherty and Jacob there.
Yeah, Doherty just getting caught out by Jacob there. Maybe just trying to give him a little bit of a nudge, just to remind him that he's still there. And
I was well held by the both of them.
Definitely, and we're just going to move back to the front of the field, and that gap has closed down to about 1.5, 1.6 seconds between Carl Big Tam and Sausage Miyagi. So Tam definitely putting in the pace at this point, about a second a lap faster that lap last time around.
Yeah, like I said, Tam needed to do about 7 tenths, 8 tenths a lap, and currently, yeah, Sausage needs to find a bit of qualifying pace. Needs a bit of hammer time for himself, maybe.
Oh, and a problem
Dizzy
there for Dizzy,
to...
Dizzy in the wall, as I believe Dizzy's facing
pointing the
backwards
wrong way.
And
that's a tough spot to come out from.
Yeah, as we see him just flick the car around. The car doesn't look
Perfectly
too
executed.
badly damaged. It's just too badly damaged at this point. So maybe he'll make his way back onto the back of these guys. I don't think he's going to have time by the end of the race. But Doherty, James, and Jacob definitely still battling for 5th and 6th place at this point, as Doherty just looks down the inside, just kind of giving Jacob something to think about in his mirrors. But Big Tam, just that gap is kind of extended back out again now.
I think Tam might have made a mistake.
A couple of laps left to go. Do you think this is feasibly on for Big Tam?
Knowing Tam, and I think he's made a mistake in that last lap that he's done, running a 1:16.1 versus his fairly normal sort of 1:15, 1:14 sort of pace, and then sort of closer to sort of the mid 1:14s for a qualifying pace. Yeah, I think a mistake was made. I think if he can show Sausage, but he's catching him again. And from a racer's point of view, I know Sausage is looking at the timing screens. There's no way he's not looking at the general relative and knowing that Tam is going to be breathing down his neck.
Yeah, Tam doesn't seem to be closing in that fast at the moment. It seems to be a few tenths, if anything. Just going to jump to the back of the field as we see Doherty James able to get past Jacob there. Jacob getting all kinds of sideways and just kind of slapping the wall a little bit there. So a move put on Jacob, and this kind of makes things interesting if Banslowski and Redshift 80 swap places. It does look like Redshift 80 is closing in these last couple of laps.
Which Bans needs to stay ahead of him. Doherty's just behind, and I think, without sitting down and sort of doing the maths, if Doherty or Bans is overtaken by the one who shall not be named, obviously that would put Bans down into 4th, and I think that would give Doherty just enough to possibly clinch 2nd, and potentially with where Miyagi is, move him down to, or move him up into 3rd in the championship. Bans could look at a double drop here.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting in the points. My maths is not quite good enough to to kind of work
Yeah,
this out
I
very
can't do it on the
quickly,
fly either, but it makes for an interesting narrative.
Yeah, I think Bands definitely has to stay ahead of Redshift here to kind of secure his place in the championship. And these two BMWs still nose to tail, so Doherty James not able to pull away from Jacob at this point.
I think we've both seen these guys make contact with the wall. I'd be surprised if they weren't both carrying a bit of suspension damage and front aero damage by the look of the cars. It would be lovely to see Doherty try and close up on the back of Redshift and Bands, but I think that might be a tall order to ask at this point.
I think 10 seconds in a lap might be a little bit much there, Ed.
This is Bathurst. Anything can happen.
As we see
here.
Tam absolutely sending it. They're really pushing to catch up with Sausage Miyagi. The gap down to about 1.4 seconds. So very much trying to catch Sausage Miyagi now.
I had no doubts in my mind that Tam was not about to sit back and let anyone else win the last race of the championship. He's been a class act, and you know what? These guys need to raise their game to get up with Tam, and I absolutely know most of them are going to do that. They're not going to let this go.
Yeah, definitely. I think the race is definitely going to be on. As we see Tam closing into less than a second now on Sausage Miyagi. This is going to be the story of the last lap as to whether Tam can close in on Sausage Miyagi. I wonder if Sausage Miyagi is just pushing just a little bit too hard and cooked his tyres a little bit here, Ed.
I think it might be a mixture of everything. Obviously, we're running summer temperatures here, which is not helping anyone's tyres, and obviously these guys running as teammates as well. Really closing up on him there. This is
Tam
last lap glory for Tam.
Tam putting in a 2:14.3, so matching his qualifying effort there in this race to get himself onto the back of Sausage Miyagi. And I think the question is more when rather than if we're going to see a move or an attempt at a move at the very least.
I think this is all going to come down to as long as Sausage can just keep it straight and on the right path through the top of the mountain here. There's very little overtaking room. It's all going to come round to the
Tam
exit
is trying
of Forest Elbow.
incredibly hard around here. Tam looks like he's trying incredibly hard through the top of the mountain, and as we see Sausage just getting a little bit sideways coming over the top of the mountain.
And Tam sliding the rear end through Skyline there.
As we see the guys coming through the S's now for the final time. This all coming down. This race all coming down to the last lap. Oh, as we see Tam just touching the wall there.
It's all going to come down to the exit on Forest Elbow and the run through the cutting. Or the chase even, sorry. It's going to be the run through the chase and how Sausage positions his car coming into this, because do you defend the first part of the chase or do you defend the second?
I think from what we've seen so far, you have to give a little into the second, as we see the guys going side by side into the second part of the chase. So the guys very much, as we see Sausage taking a great deal of curve, that's going to compromise his exit a little bit there. So Tam definitely trying incredibly hard, as we see the guys coming up to the last corner now, and Big Tam not quite able to make it move. He's going to look round the outside on the last corner.
Oh!
It's going to be a drag race down to the start-finish straight. I think Big Tam might have this. Big Tam's got this one. Big Tam on the last corner.
What a move!
Big Tam on the last corner of the race. That was incredible. That was
Absolute respect.
That was incredible feat to watch. Big Tam putting a move around the outside of Sausage Miyagi on the last corner of the race.
Redshift getting bans as well.
Yeah, this is going to make things nice and interesting, as Doherty James is up to 5th place. So Doherty James, as we see the guys all lining up there on the track, and just going to try and find a nice camera angle of this, just so we can get a bit of a shot. As the guys all lining up now, we've only got about 30 seconds for the guys to catch up, so this is going to be an interesting one.
I think that's fantastic between Tam and Sausage on going through that last section of corners. That was clear amount of respect between the two of them. Tam just edging it by that last corner. No, it's saying Sausage won that.
Oh, Tam has a penalty. Tam has a second penalty.
Tam had a 1 second penalty.
That's what's cost him the race. So Tam has a 1 second penalty there, folks. But that time, I believe, without that 1 second penalty, that would have been 2 tenths between the two cars at the start-finish line. I know that was incredibly close.
1.6 tenths of a second, or 0.16 would have been the final time, which is a door panel on one of these cars.
Yeah, definitely, and obviously I'm just inviting the guys in for a bit of a chat now, and we'll hear from both of the guys as they kind of as they talk us through. And yeah, like I say, Tam having a penalty there at the end to kind of end the race, but an incredible last lap. And to be honest,
can I just add, Banslowski with plus 28 seconds, putting him down into 6th place.
Yeah, definitely, and we're just going to chat with Big Tam and see if we can have a bit of a chat with Tam first.
I'm good, guys.
How are you doing, Tam? So we're just looking at the results screen now, and it looks like you've been given a second penalty. Obviously, that last lap was incredible for you. Do you have any idea where you got that penalty or what happened with that?
Well, I got it. It was pending for the lap before, and I actually slowed down. That's how, if you look at the times, Miyagi got away a wee bit because I actually slowed down to try and get rid of the penalty. I slowed down 2 seconds and I still got the second penalty. So, what can you do? I should have just took it on the chin and just kept on going.
Yeah. So we're just gonna
awesome race with Miyagi and everybody else. Great racing, guys.
Yeah, definitely, and well done on the championship win once again, mate, and kind of a great race and an incredible kind of last couple of laps from both of you guys. And maybe we can chat to Sausage Miyagi now and kind of hear his kind of side of that last lap.
I'd like to thank you as well for commentating over us and that as well. Thank you very much, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, mate. And it's been a pleasure to watch all of you guys race all season.
Oh, it's been fantastic. I know I've only been along for the ride for the last three race or 3 sessions, but absolute pleasure to watch all of you race this closely.
Yeah, definitely, and hopefully Sausage Miyagi can hear us right now. Just that last lap, mate, was incredible. That was.
Oh, it was.
I'm thinking that might have been more fun, like slightly more fun for you than it was for us, and that's saying something because that was great fun to watch. Just talk us through the kind of events like leading up to that lap and that last lap for you.
I managed to get away from Banzarski early on, and then saw that Tam had made his way through the field, which is no surprise. But he, so I was hoping Banzarski would hold him up for maybe a lap longer than what he managed to. But then it was just trying to manage the gap down to Tam. Obviously, he caught me on the last lap and then made a nice move around the outside to drag race me to the line and win. Unfortunately, got the penalty though.
Yeah, definitely an incredible finish and a incredible last lap from all of us, and well done on the win on that. I'm not entirely sure what's going to happen with the stewards on that one. I think that one might still be pending, but kind of potentially well done on the win, and it's great to see you back on the podium again, mate.
Yeah, it definitely is. Hopefully, me points might have just jumped over Banzarski for third in the championship.
Yeah, definitely. We were
see.
trying to do the quick maths in the race, but we weren't quite quick enough. And Banzlowski there, coming in third place. Hopefully, Banz, you can hear us now, mate. And a bit of a kind of a Gods of Project Cars 2 moment there for you, mate. And just kind of talk us through your mindset coming into this last race. Obviously, not having the best feature race, but being put fairly high up in the order. What was your kind of approach to this race?
Well, Bathurst is not my strong track, which was probably kind of apparent. So yeah, it was more or less damage limitations.
Yeah, we're trying to get Redshift to see if we can grab a quick kind of. He seems to be our mathematical genius as to whether we can get a quick confirmation on the points. Obviously, Tam wrapping up the championship in the last race, but it's going to be incredibly tight between you guys and you, Sausage Miyagi, and Doherty James coming out of this championship.
Then I think it ends up in like just a point or two between me and James.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, I think. But yeah, well done, mate, and congratulations on the third place. And hopefully, we'll see you again next season for some more touring cars, mate.
Yeah, thanks. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, definitely, and a big well done to all the guys Sorry, a big well done to all the guys in the touring cars. I'm sure that goes for you as well, Ed.
Oh, absolutely. That racing was phenomenal coming through. It's difficult to keep the camera on every little battle that was happening there, and obviously without knowing, sort of not being able to quite see from my perspective, and I assume from yours, the penalties that were involved in that. That
Yes.
last race, except for obviously Tam obviously having the championship sewn up, but for everyone else running further back, that really mixed it all up, and I can't wait to see sort of what the championship comes out from this. That's really mixed it up.
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of made things nice and interesting, and kind of it makes things nice and interesting for the end of the championship. I'm very much looking forward to the next season of touring cars, Ed, and I hope you'll be back to join us and not want to get involved in the racing yourself.
I have to say, touring cars is something that isn't my specialty. Credit to these guys, because I did a quick practice session with some of the guys a little while ago, and I wasn't up to their standard. And I could only imagine, with knowing some of the guys that are in sort of the tier 2 racing at the moment. We've got some sort of new guys joining the Discord that have been looking to get in on touring cars for a little while now. That I don't see Tam possibly having it all his own way next season, and really a big mix-up.
Yeah, definitely, and it's going to be interesting. Obviously, we run several tiers of touring cars. So it's going to be interesting to see who gets promoted from tier 2 to tier 1. Just before we wrap up, I just want to talk very quickly about our kind of Nürburgring event that we're running this weekend. We're running it to raise money for the charity Mind, the mental health charity, and I'm going to pop the link in the bio for our Twitch. So if anyone wants to wants to make a donation, or wants to kind of help out, or kind of get involved as much as they can, the link for the Discord and the link for the Just Giving page are going to be in our Twitch bio as soon as I can get on there to change that. Thank you very much to Ed. Thank you very much to the guys.
Very quickly before we leave off, the Nürburgring 24, it's going to be a great event. Obviously, we're trying to make an active push to get the sort of newer members or less experienced drivers into this one, by sort of making it mandatory for the teams to have a new driver to the game and to the sport involved in it, which has really opened it up, just to try and make the community just that bit bigger and a bit more accessible. Because if it's one thing that comes from sim racing, it can be a bit elitist at times. So we've really tried to push the opportunity here to extend it to those that want that opportunity to get involved without the judgment that can come with some sim racing communities.
Yeah, definitely. We're very much trying to make this an inclusive community. So if you guys do want to come and get involved, the link to the Discord chat is in our Twitch bio right now, so you can come and get involved. We hope to see you guys next season. We hope to see all of you guys come and chat to us all on the Discord. Come and get involved. We're running things on Project Cars, and we have a kind of small but growing community for PS4 and PC as well. So there's definitely enough to get involved with for all of you guys. But thank you very much from myself and from Ed, and we will see you again next time.